People hate Monsanto, in part because they're a huge corporation that has a lot of power over our food supply, and in part because they deal with genetically modified organisms, GMOs, which the average person doesn't necessarily understand, and that can be scary. I happen to be in favor of genetic modification as it's just a faster and more precise way to do what humans have always done, which is breed plants and animals to be tastier and easier to eat. But even I hate Monsanto because they're a huge corporation that I think cares more about money than safety and education of the general population. And their lobbyists will make sure that they always get their way. While in general, I do think GMOs are safe, I don't think it's safe for an industry to have so much control over our politicians, especially when that industry is led by a corporation that was previously best known for creating and manufacturing a horrific chemical weapon that destroyed entire ecosystems and disabled 1 million people. I'm talking about Agent Orange. You can look it up. It's pretty horrific. Despite that, I often defend Monsanto against people who launch spurious attacks about GMOs, which they sometimes call frankenfoods to scare you even more. And now I have to do it all again because hundreds of people are suing Monsanto over claims that their pesticide, Roundup, which is also known as glyphosate, no longer under patent, so lots of people use it, causes cancer. Their lawsuits are based on findings of a World Health Organization group called the International Agency for Research on Cancer, or IARC, who performed a meta-analysis in 2015 and determined that Roundup was a probable carcinogen. The problem that was recently revealed by Reuters is that one of the scientists on that panel, Aaron Blair, actually withheld a large, well-done study that showed that it was highly improbable that Roundup causes cancer. The weirdest part is that Aaron Blair was the lead author on the study that he withheld. So it's not like he didn't know about it or that he thought it was poorly done. Blair admitted that if the study had been included in IARC's analysis, they wouldn't have branded Roundup as a carcinogen. IARC says that the study couldn't be included because of their policy that states that if a study hasn't been published, then they can't include it. This study was completed but hadn't undergone peer review yet. And that's ridiculous because the type of peers who would be reviewing the study are exactly the people who are on IARC's panel. So all they had to do was go through that study with a more critical eye, knowing that no one else had reviewed it previously. If they had done that, they could have made a more accurate recommendation and saved a hell of a lot of trouble for the court systems that are now dealing with spurious lawsuits. And by the way, I'll mention that Reuters did have the paper reviewed by peers who said that it looked perfectly good to them. They would also, had IARC have done this and included this study, they would have saved a lot of pain for the people who are bringing these lawsuits. Cancer is complicated and scary as hell, and it doesn't help to confuse people by giving them a convenient bad guy to blame, especially when that bad guy is not to blame, because they'll feel better in the moment, but at the end of the day, they still won't know the cause of their cancer, and they'll have been dragged through a strenuous court process while fighting serious health problems. Amazingly, the IARC says that they have no plans to reconsider their designation, but hopefully they will reconsider it if the Reuters story actually gains traction and enough people are outraged about this. Because meanwhile, glyphosate is the most commonly used herbicide in the world, and the EU is planning to decide at the end of the year whether or not to continue to allow it. So let's hope that in their decision-making at this point, they don't abide by the official designation offered by the normally trustworthy World Health Organization.